When the Osu Castle was about to be built, this right here was first built to make sure that all the masons that were going to build the Osu Castle had where to stay. Standing right here is where we have the ancestral stone of the Osu people. This is actually the family, the Ni Odoikwao family, that has all the history. And today we are going to be meeting with the head of the family to tell us more about the Osu people.
Where you have come, it is the citadel of the history of Ghana. When it comes to struggle for independence or whatever, struggle against colonialism or whatever, we are very close to the Osu Christiansborg Castle. The Christiansborg Castle is the castle that the Europeans, when they came, they got wind of. There is a rock that sprang up in the sea, and it is on that the castle was built. And the Osu Castle have changed hands. Danish, Netherlands, Swedish, Germans, Portuguese, and then eventually the British. That is the history here. In fact, Osu in Ghana here comes from Osudoku. It is a tribal name from Ghana that is called Osudoku. And Osudoku is in the eastern Greater Accra region of Osu, of Accra, Greater Accra region in Ghana, and it's in the Shire Hills. And so that is where Osu people came from and settled here. You know, in 1501, the first slaves were shipped from Africa to Portugal, 1501, because it is Pope Leo who recommended that there are people in Africa who can work very well. And the first slaves were shipped from Accra here, 1501. And slavery lasted for over 300 years. It was ended in 1807. I think the British Parliament passed their Anti-Slavery Act in March 1807, and then the US passed theirs in April 1807. Then Spain, they passed their own in 1811. So let's come home. What is the relationship between Osu and Nigeria, Onitsha in particular, and Ijaw in particular, and Lagos Yoruba in particular? As for Abuja, Abuja came just recently. Abuja has no relationship with anything that is done in West Africa. It was a new town that was established. Now, when you come to Osu here, we have Osu Alata. When we talk of Alata, Alata means Nigeria. That's what it means. But it also means servants. So in Accra here, we have Osu Alata, we have English Alata, and then we have Dutch Alata. In fact, the Nigerians were very good servants. They were very good boat rowers. You know, in Nigeria, you have a lot of rivers and waters. So Nigerians are very good boat rowers. And so they serve the colonial masters very well. In those days, there were no harbors. So when they come with their vessels, they dock in the middle of the sea. And they need boat rowers who have to row them downstream and also take goods upstream. So we termed anybody who served the colonial masters as alata, because us as Gans, we call the Nigerians alata, alata cheme. Not only the Gans, even the Ashantis, alata yao, they call them alata yao. It is not a derogatory term, but it is a term that we use for them. So in Accra here, we have 3 alatas. We have the Dutch alata. We call it Kinka in Accra Central. Then we have English alata. English is the English. Then we call English alata. They are also in Accra Central. And then we have Osu alata. In fact, the Osu alates, they serve the Danes. They are the boat rowers for the Danes. So they live around the Osu Castle. We are also living around the Osu Castle. So now, somebody will say, West Africa used to be one place. Not even West Africa. By the history in both the Bible and geographically, Africa is the only continent which have stayed put. All other continents broke away from the whole. So you can bring all the continents to join Africa, and it will fit very well. So we are one people. In fact, we have a group of people in Accra. We call them the Tabons. When slavery ended, slavery did not end in other South American countries. So in 1838, slavery ended in Brazil, and the slaves were returned, but they didn't reach our shores here. They reached Lagos. And through interactions, the slaves went late at that time, so they could remember the features that are in Accra. And so when they told their colonial masters, they brought them. And so they are the Tabons, the Brazilians. And you know one thing, one of the Brazilians, because they were so hardworking, one of them became a world champion in boxing. He is the Professor Zunzum Azuma Nelson. He is a prodigy. He is a person who came from the Tabons, from Brazil to Lagos and then to this place. So this is how the relationship between Ghana and Nigeria is established.
How has this colonial story affected the culture of the people in Osu?
There is an effect. We have both the adverse effect as well as the positive effect. Yes, the positive effect is that it is them that brought education. So you find out that one of the Osu chiefs in 1826 was sent to Copenhagen, that is Denmark, and he had education there for 2 years. He came down, and in 1828, in collaboration with other professors, they wrote the first Ga dictionary. Yes. So when it comes to education, in fact, the colonial masters were able to put us into that place. Now, the adverse portion of what they did was that they divided us. They divided us into heathen and Christians. That's number one. Number two, what they did also was that they made sure that we do not use the knowledge that we have had to benefit our own people. They use the system of Salem. We call it the Salem system. It's called segregation. You are bright, they take you out of your community. Eventually, they will take you to Europe. So, Europe and America are not so good today only because of the people there, but because they exploited us and took our best to the place. Later on, they decided that they would take our resources. Whilst they are in scientific exploitation or exploration, they are exploring things. So this that you see that is not good here, they can use it to make something that when the black man sees, hey, oh, so nice. Look at our cocoa. It's so smelly and it doesn't look nice, but it gives power, it nourishes and all that. And they were able to use it. You plant the cocoa. When they take it there, what cocoa does for them health-wise and nutritionally, you can. So your question, I don't know if I've answered you.
This has really been enlightening. Thank you so very much for your time.